You are listening to Charting Wealth for Tuesday, April the 12th, 2016. What do we see going on in the market? Well, we've had a sideways slide going on since the 31st. As far as our two-day charts go on the total market, we'll see something similar when we get to the S&P 500. We always look at IYY. That's the way we start our podcast. It's a total market fund. It's an ETF by iShares that tracks the whole market. And we've seen the market sliding sideways since the 31st of March. As far as the candle that started forming up on the 11th, what do we see going on? Well, it is a doji. It's a green doji, but we are seeing the market continue to move toward a big turn down on our two-day chart. As of the close of the market on Monday the 11th, we see that we have gone negative on our derivative oscillator, and our MACD is so close to crossing over the signal line. You can't see it yet, but it is getting close. We shall see what tomorrow holds. Again, we don't have a crossover yet. We have a sideways slide as the market continues to not reach higher highs and to move over slowly. It was down for the book, 0.24% for the day. And again, the candle that we have forming up on our two-day chart is pretty much a green doji. Again, what does that mean? It means that the market opened about where it closed. As far as this two-day candle went, that of course means lots of indecision. And which way is that decision going? Well, based upon what we're seeing in the charts, we've got a negative derivative oscillator at this point, and we have the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, attempting to move over. If we look intraday, what do we see? Well, market was up in the morning, down in the afternoon, crossed over on the short chart back on the morning of the 5th of April, and has continued again to went down that day and then slid sideways pretty much since then. Actually, the lowest low that's been hit in the recent few days has been the afternoon of the 7th of April. So the market's a little bit higher now than it was then, crossed over a decent two-day trend line all the way back on the 6th of April, actually on the 5th in the afternoon. So what do we have going on? Well, we don't have a market yet that's in a confirmed down move, but it is trying to move that way. What do we see different? If we look at the S&P 500, we don't see really a lot different. It has not yet gone negative on the derivative oscillator, but it's getting close to a crossover on the MACD and possibly the derivative oscillator. Hasn't happened yet, but that may be in the portent for tomorrow. For Tuesday. We shall look and see. Again, it's not confirmed yet, so we don't trade on it yet. Now, if we look intraday, what do we see? Well, we see a chart that, again, is similar to the total market. Again, this is the S&P 500. It's 500 big companies, lots of the volume of the market, but it's not exactly the same. We like to look at the total market and the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. S&P 500 crossed over going down back on the morning of the 5th of April. Again, a very similar pattern as to what we see in the total market. It's below the two-day trend line. Not too far below, but is below the two-day trend line. So let's continue to pay attention and move along. And don't forget now, just because the market is down on the short chart and getting close on the big chart doesn't mean that we have a confirmed down trade yet. Now, let's look. Oh, and for the record, the S&P 500 was down 0.25%. So again, 0.25% for the day. On Monday, what do we have on the Qs, which is the NASDAQ 100? It's a Power Shares QQQ Trust Series 1, another ETF. It tracks an index, the index of the NASDAQ, which is the technology stocks. What do we see going on? Well, we've not yet crossed the two-day trend line, but it does appear that that might be coming in the future. We have the MACD moving toward the signal line, portending a potential down move, but perhaps forecasting that hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen a crossover to the negative on the derivative oscillator either. So we'll continue to watch. We're still above the two-day trend line, although we're getting awfully close to it. Let's take a closer look at the 4-hour chart, see what we see. What do we see? Well, we're right there above it. So we crossed over on the NASDAQ 100 going down back on the morning of the 5th of April, and we'll just continue to watch. We don't have any trades at this point on the Qs. We're watching to see if indeed this down move is going to take place. Hasn't yet. Lastly, let's take a look at gold. As I said, I didn't tell you, the NASDAQ was down 0.36% for the day. What about gold? Well, gold was up 1.36%. Although with all the down moves in gold, it hasn't crossed over going up yet on the 2-day chart. Derivative oscillators losing energy over the last 3 candles. And we have a big up candle on the 2-day chart. It's, of course, now well above the 2-day trend line down. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we can see what happened during the day. And, of course, we've watched it stair step up since the 5th when the market moved over in the morning. Moved over significantly, slid sideways for about a day and a half, a day and a half, and then started moving up strongly on the 7th of April, and it's continued to move up. Strong movement up in the morning, above the Bollinger Band, and in the afternoon. So we have strong up movement on the 4-hour chart, having again crossed through the 2-day trend line back on the 7th. That is where we have ended. We have golden strong up moves. We have the market sliding sideways, tending toward a down move on the large chart. Has not happened yet, has not been confirmed. We've had the short charts for the Qs, the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 500, and the total market. They have been in confirmed short down moves for many days now. So again, just waiting to see the way the market's going to shake out. Don't forget, if those of you who like the stock chart, the Stock Trader's Almanac, please look at that. Read the chapter on the month of April. If you don't have the Stock Trader's Almanac for 2016, man, you are several months late. You need to get it. It's very interesting to see what happens in these election years on a president in his 8th year. What occurs, particularly in April, around the middle of the month. Go read that chapter. You will get so much out of it. Kudos to Jeff and Yale Hirsch for all their work. You need their publication every single year if you're going to invest or trade in the market. Please read about April. You will find it in the Almanac. Thanks so much for listening. You have questions, problems, concerns, we love to hear from you. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you want to help us out, go to iTunes, subscribe, or at least go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and say something nice about us. We appreciate the folks who've done that so far. Helps us out a lot. If you sign up for our daily review, you will also receive once a week our weekly review and forecast, and you'll receive links to our How to Read a Stock Chart video, 15 minutes of fun that'll really help you out a great deal. In addition to that, you'll get our layout from freestockcharts.com. Thanks so much. Take care. From Charting Wealth,